Hi, it's Linda. Welcome back to the Daily Dose, where we talk about the energy that's moving through all of us right now and we make it useful for real life. No fancy language, just plain talk and real life. In our last chat, we met both versions of the cranky pants energy of you were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts. Today, we talk about what the you were made for the full spectrum energy looks like when it's just working. It's who you are. So let's get started. Your rhythm isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. That's the first thing to make peace with. Other energies thrive on consistency and predictability, but the you were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts energy, runs on variation and flow. Your energy moves in seasons. Some periods are expansive and high output, and others are slower, more internal, more about integration than production. Both are correct. The practice is learning to trust the season you're in instead of measuring this season against the last one. In everyday life, this looks like giving yourself permission to operate differently than the productivity advice from all the gurus tells you to do. You don't need a rigid morning routine. You don't need a color-coded schedule. You need to stay connected to what's alive in you right now and move from there. Set the parameters when it feels right and rest in between. That's not laziness. That's how the you were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts energy works. So I know a woman who runs on this energy. She is one of the most productive, creative, and magnetic people in any room she walks into. And she hasn't had a consistent morning routine ever in her life. What she does have is a remarkable ability to discern what she needs on any given day and honor it without guilt. Some mornings she's up early and moving her body. On other days, she's slow and inward and lets herself be that way. And the output that comes from that kind of self-management that honors her energy is amazing. That's the you were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts energy in everyday life. This energy is consistent in me. I've had to work at allowing my body to decide how I start my days and how I work throughout the day. Some days I stick to a morning routine of writing my morning pages, which is a type of journaling, then moving my body, and then it's breakfast time. Most days I do this, but I've learned to allow myself to not do this when my body is leading me in a different direction. Sometimes I don't have the patience for my morning pages. And in my work day, I have a rough idea of the structure of my day, but there is a lot of variability, and I've learned to be okay with that. This energy also shows up in the way you are with people. When this energy runs in you, you have a remarkable capacity to accept everyone exactly where they are, including the parts they're ashamed of, the contradictions they can't reconcile, and the extremes they're embarrassed by. You don't need people to be neater or more consistent or easier to understand. You find them fascinating just as they are. People feel that, and it draws them to you in ways they can't always articulate. You channel the song just the way you are. Don't go changing, all that. When you have consistent access to this energy, your energy is that. You love people just the way they are. I never thought about this side of me very much until one of my sons got a DUI. He was going through a very difficult time, a bad breakup, and he had lost 5 of his close high school friends, 1 to cancer, 1 to an accidental overdose, and 3 to death by their choice. After the 5th funeral, he literally crashed. It was awful. I did what I could to help him through. At one point, one of his friends was very appreciative, as he put it, how I handled the DUI and all of the stuff. The friend then shared how other parents had handled similar situations. Now, friends, let me assure you, my son faced the consequences, but I stayed by his side through all of it. He rode the bus and dealt with all of the legal stuff. I was there to support him and give him love, forgiveness, and guidance. To be fair, that was easier because no one was injured, and I still get emotional every day about this. The willingness to stay through the hard stuff also extends into how you show up in everyday conversation. The voice of this energy says, I should have showed up late so I could skip this stupid small talk. Because small talk and forced routine feels like when you ask your kids how their day was and they say, fine. That doesn't tell me anything about what really happened. You were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts energy. What's the real conversation? The whole person, the depth underneath the surface presentation. This is where this energy resonates with me in a huge way. I'm terrible at small talk. I dislike that surface level stuff. I much prefer the deeper conversations that take place when I'm really connecting and getting to know someone. With this, you were made for the full spectrum, not just the pretty parts energy. Your fascination with the full range of human experience isn't performance. It's one of the most powerful things you carry. So, in our next chat, while we're all still in this energy, we'll talk about the you were made for the full spectrum energy at its absolute best version, the inner saint version. And this one takes my breath away a little. I wouldn't miss it. I sure hope you don't. Thank you so much for being here. Find your happy. Love what you do. Make a difference. And come on back to me safely. See ya.